It's not a gun. It's a sword.
It's still a knee-jerk reaction, Gordo. You can't be like, that's not a logical way to defend a sword.
Yeah, Gordo, show us your sword defense.
Ah!
Welcome back, everyone, to S1E1, a show where each week we pick a different sitcom, watch just the first televised episode, and forgetting anything we might know about the future run of that show, rate it and decide if it's a show we want to greenlight or cancel. This week we're going to be talking about The Charmings. The Charmings went 21 episodes with only 2 seasons on ABC. They were talking about episode 1, which was called Pilot, originally airing March 20th, 1987. So to get things started, I'm Jay Gags. With me, as always, the boys, Joe, Ferg, Nick, and Gordo. What's going on, guys?
Hey, yo.
Hiya, pal.
Boy, do I need a grog. That's all I gotta say about this goddamn episode.
So, yeah, The Charmings. For those of you just listening in, 99% of you, Ferg has his. Is that a Red Sox Disney hat, or are you wearing mouse ears over your normal Red Sox hat?
They're magnetic ears.
Oh,
That's smart. Fits any hat.
Turns every hat into a Mickey hat.
It's opening day.
It is opening day at the time of our recording. So yeah, The Charmings, for those of you who don't know, is a show much like if you go way back when we covered Monsters Today. So basically Snow White and Prince Charming and the fam were put under an evil spell that cast them to sleep for 1,000 years. And then they wake up in modern day here being 1987. And here they are living a normal life, or as normal as they can, having been fairy tale characters.
If somebody bullet pointed this for me and said it's an 80s sitcom, they mentioned Miami Vice, the dad from Reba is in it, and so is the guy who fucked Forrest Gump's mom, I would immediately be like, I'm going to love this. And holy shit, how did this go 2 seasons?
You know what my issue is? Snow White was never married to Prince Charming. Prince Charming was married to Cinderella.
Do you know what my big issue is? How did they get to Los Angeles? Because the Enchanted Forest
Is in Germany.
is in Germany. The Brothers Grimm are German. So are we to assume, at least if you go Blast from the Past or one of those movies.
And also, it's they're medieval times, right? And they slept for 1,000 years.
That would be today, 2025.
Well, not
Is that
more.
Gordo math?
I mean, if it's 1980, if it's 1987, then and they slept 1,000 years, that's
It's
they're off
987.
by quite a bit.
That's not medieval. That's Dark Ages. That's
Where did
Viking
they get the
era.
money? Why is the house fully furnished? I have so many fucking questions.
Where did they get the money? That's what
He's
I
a
wanted
prince.
to know.
They
too.
have gold.
But they did. Oh, so they got transported through time 1,000 years with everything they owned.
I don't know. I'm not going to question how they are alive after a magic
This
spell.
is what
put them
we
to
do,
sleep.
though. We have to question this because you were gonna blindly like this show, anyways.
So I'll say this: of all the things right off the bat, before we even get into the episode, some of these questions, I would say the one I guess that would flag me the most would be like Joe's. There's a locational issue, but those are the things that kind of I get it. They're blind eye things. You know what I mean?
Also, why is the mother-in-law there?
She put herself to
they
sleep, I
said
guess?
they said that the spell,
The
had
spell
caught her, too.
her.
Oh, I missed that part then.
And one of the dwarves.
Oh, the most famous dwarf, Luther.
Yeah, Luther dwarf.
Also, imagine, and this is no shame, he's a great character actor. He's in a million amazing things.
He is
He's
in
in
a lot.
Cliffhanger. He's done tons of great stuff, but this dude wins awards for playing Martin Luther King. Then he's like, I guess I'll play a gay-coded mirror in this sitcom about Snow White. It's
you got to start
fucking
somewhere.
bananas.
It's no different than Red Dwarf with the AI.
He's actually in my opinion, the only entertaining part of this show is the guy in the mirror.
Yeah, in the Luther.
The mirror to me feels like he's doing every sitcom appearance that Little Richard did in the 80s. He's basically just doing, shut up, Jesse, the whole
Shut up,
fucking
Jesse.
episode. It's insane.
There, I helped.
Yep.
All right, so there's going to be a lot that we'll dissect this as we go along, but a couple quick things. IMDb 6.8, which is not terrible.
That's fucking way too
Rotten
high.
Tomatoes, nothing's listed for that one.
Should be 6.9.
Hey, it's higher than the new Snow White. That's in theaters now.
That's one of those things that, and I fully admit, this is, I'll put the blame on myself. When I knew this was coming up, and if I had thought about it or realized that this was Snow White, even Ferg, I know you had told me ahead of time, I should have lined it up for when the movie comes out, because like as we're recording this, it's still a pretty fresh story. By the time this comes out, it's a few weeks past, and I think Snow White will be far out of the theaters already. I think that is getting a little bit of a resurgence, so I think the audience score on Rotten Tomatoes has been rising on it.
Yeah, I think I read that too. Not that I'm trying to watch the Snow White movie.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch it regardless. I just don't have any general interest, but, you know, it is what it is.
I'm not a Disney adult. I don't care.
Ferg's wearing Disney ears. You don't have to ask him where he stands.
Yeah, I'm not knocking Disney adults at all. I'm just saying, I mean, I've been thrust more into a world of watching stuff like that. We just watched a weird Kermit movie from like 2002 I had never heard of before.
The Swamp Years?
Yes. That was an interesting, odd journey to take. It did not keep the kids' interest.
That's one of them that goes in the Walmart $2 bin, and I think I got it like 8 times
Walmart.
for Christmas.
I'll say this too. I don't want to go into a long thing about the modern Disney movies, because I want to talk about the show. But where the Snow White just came out, of all of them, your daughter's too young right now, but like when you start getting into this in like a few years, of all of those live action movies, like there's some misses, but the best one in my opinion is Beauty and the Beast.
Hands
Knocked it
down.
out of the park. Knocked out of the park with that one.
But Lilo and Stitch is coming out soon, and I think that's going to be probably the best live action they've ever
Really?
done.
What
It looks
one?
really good. The live action Lilo and Stitch that's coming out.
Is it all real people or is it like a combo?
Everyone but Stitch is real people.
Okay.
I got roped into the Beauty and the Beast, and I was like, what is this at first? And then I got sucked into it, and 2
It's
hours
good.
later, I'm
Yeah,
like, wow,
it's
that was
real good,
amazing. Yeah.
If any of you guys are interested in watching The Charmings, as you hear us covering it now, you can watch the entire run of the show on YouTube. I said 21 episodes at the start of the show. 20 made it to air. The remaining 1 episode was aired in other countries. So 21 officially, but only 20 were seen in the US. But you can watch them all now on YouTube.
I like that the note to that too was like this got a weird Canadian TV run last year, and that was the first time it like got a terrestrial viewing of the last episode in North America in 2023. Like, what channel was like, we should play the whole run of the Charmings right now?
Hey, it worked out for us because we got a pretty good like version of it available to watch because of it. So
I am glad that the version we had was pretty good quality. Yeah.
I was looking at the cast on IMDb, and there was 2 actresses listed as Snow White.
So after the first season, she was replaced. And the
It's
argument,
got
I guess,
multiple
was
seasons.
That's what I said.
There's
It's
2
2
seasons.
full seasons. Well, a season and a half, I guess. It's a mid-season, so there's 6 in the first one.
yeah. So after the first season, I guess the creators thought that the girl who played Snow White in this season had too much of a Snow White vibe.
What?
Odd. And they wanted someone who looked a little bit more modern. It seems
Can
so
you
backwards.
imagine that poor woman's agent went to her and was like, I'm sorry, they don't want you playing Snow White anymore. They think you're too Snow White. And she was
Yeah.
like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Right?
That's insane, because I will say this, she did nail Snow White.
She did.
Yeah, I mean, as far as all that stuff goes, one of the only actually other things I want to mention too before we get into it is this show gets a season 2, and because it did have some mild success in the first season, they put it on Thursday night, which is when you put your best shows.
Against like Cosby.
This
Yeah.
show went up directly against the Cosby Show and A Different World. So, like, what are you doing?
The Cosby Show and its wildly successful spinoff that aired after The Cosby Show was what they tried to put this fucking insanity against. They should have kept it on. I mean, I guess Friday would have been against TGIF, but it seemed to do better there. I mean, like at that point, like, look, we didn't know what we know now, but The Cosby Show was like a juggernaut. You couldn't go against that without killing your ratings.
It's not uncommon for TGIF either, because we've gone over
Yeah.
we've done like Aliens in the Family came out of TGIF, you know,
Was
so
that like 4 episodes?
yeah,
that?
it wasn't a long run. Teen Angel we haven't done yet. We got to do Teen Angel eventually.
I forget what show it was a couple weeks ago we did where I was made fun of it for it only lasted like a month, where usually it's like, yeah, it ran from like March to March. You're like, oh, is that 1 year? But like, nope, same calendar month. But this going 2 seasons is,
Coming to Papa.
yeah, coming to Papa. Poor Tom Papa didn't make it more than like 2 weeks.
But With all that in mind, there is a lot to cover, so I want to get into it. So, because this was a 24-minute episode, a little bit longer than your standard 22.
Yeah, I loved seeing that, by the way.
You're
I loved seeing
welcome.
this.
It goes by, I thought, quick enough. But
No, it did not.
So listen, so let's get into this Emmy Award-winning television show.
Yeah, it did.
Won the 1988 Outstanding Lighting Direction for a comedy series, Electronic Lights. So, which tells you how many different awards exist.
To be fair, though, I feel like those aren't the Emmys. That's like a separate show, right? Like, they don't give those out at the
Yeah,
Emmys.
that's the pre-show
like,
Emmy.
or it's like midday at a deli. It must be so fun. It's just like a bunch of surly people being like, I won the lights.
Look, Ma, they said I couldn't do it.
Right off the bat, we see the exterior of this gigantic house. We're hearing like a voice over while we're panning in. And it's, I guess, a realtor who's showing the house to the Charmings. And she's like, oh, you know, it's fully furnished. It's got everything that you've been asking for, except for the moat.
Strike one. As somebody who's rented a number of apartments and bought a home, how did they pass a credit check?
So many questions. Yeah, there's
So there's a lot of stuff that we have to just get past, right? With these, and we're not going to. We're going to talk about it.
I get it. Everything requires suspended disbelief.
Yes.
Okay.
Now the difference being, like when we watch,
This is excessive.
because this is the best we can do is link this to Munsters Today, which if any of you guys want to go back, we covered Munsters Today a while ago, and that was the reboot version of the Munsters where they slept until modern day and also woke up in the 80s. But with the prior knowledge of like the Munsters, we already knew like how they had the house and all this stuff. And so there was some stuff that was already built into that show. This one, we're coming in real hot and there's not much explained. So we just take it for what it is. They fell asleep. They woke up. Were they in fucking dirt? Were they in a house? I don't know where they were. Somehow they made it to
feels like
Burbank.
a second episode that we're watching. Yeah.
I feel like we also know where they were, which was Germany. So I don't know how they made it to a castle home in Los Angeles with zero money. I mean, I guess if you have enough gold doubloons.
I don't know.
or whatever.
If it's Prince Charming, it could be in France, because that's where Cinderella took place.
Look, I agree with you. However, France versus Germany does not change the argument of how they are in suburban Los Angeles in 1987.
Maybe they put them on a raft and floated them out.
I honestly feel like when I mentioned earlier, but when they wrote that movie Blast from the Past, they must have been thinking of shows like this where like we have to figure out a way that it makes sense for them to be there. And that movie I think did a really good job of it, where they're in a bunker and society like goes over them and they come back out and they're just like over a club. They're not like their house anymore.
No, they're over an erotic bookstore / video store.
Is that where they are?
Yeah, because he goes, poison gas. Because the dad told him that porn was poison gas to keep him away from porn.
Oh, it's been a while since I've seen it. Actually, I've never seen that movie on like Dinner and a Movie on TBS, so they may have cut that scene out anyway.
I couldn't tell you math, but I could tell you stuff about Blast from the Past, which I don't think I've seen in 20 years.
Sir, I salute you and your Disney ears.
While these two are looking at the house, they're like playing with like light switches and stuff. So the one thing, there's obviously going to be a lot of complaints, but like a big issue I had with the show was like they were acclimated to modern world, but they weren't at the same time. Like it depended on what they wanted to do with the joke. So, we don't know how light switches work, but they know how to call a realtor and visit like, it's just, I don't know. It just seems like things just didn't add up. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, it's like they had jokes in mind, but
they're like forcing it so hard.
I got an idea. Let Gordo paint this for you. Okay?
Can we just skip this? Do we have to listen?
Yes,
Can we
you
vote?
do.
Okay, all right.
Prince Charming is royalty, correct? He's Prince. It's in his name. Maybe he's like the black sheep of some German French royal family, and they said, you go to Los Angeles, here's some money, and buy your house.
who sent him? He slept for 1,000 years.
Fucking Dougal Don Dorf. I don't know.
Did you say
Dougal Don Dorf?
There's no like relative that's like, oh, Eric, you're back up. Like great grandpapa told me one day you would arrive. Like it's not that would have happened.
But we don't know how long they've been awake from the sleep, so maybe that did happen. Maybe they woke up in the castle.
What about the mayor? The mayor must know. The mayor didn't go to sleep.
He's pretty up to date. He knows
he has Christy
game
Brinkley.
shows.
Yeah.
Well, he watches a lot of television, as we come to find out later.
So maybe he's helping the German family.
Did the mirror also go to sleep, or is it just sitting there bored?
No,
for
it's just sitting there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
how all that magic stuff works. They exist for eternity. Also, they're watching, they see a television. Like, what's this thing? Like, oh, it looks dangerous. It cuts to the TV and they're watching the Three Stooges.
I mean, I'm never not going to laugh at it. I don't know about you guys.
Three Stooges is timeless.
I'm
Yeah.
staying there.
Oh, yeah.
Except for when Will Sasso is Curly.
That movie shouldn't happen.
And what's his name was Mo Triskomas.
I will say this, though. I love Will Sasso. That's not his fault. You get offered to play
No.
Curly, you take the role.
That movie went through hell. That was like, it got recasted 50 times over. And
Was that the one that Jim Carrey was supposed to be in?
at one point, I think almost every actor in Hollywood was linked
It
to
was
it at some
all
point.
huge actors originally.
And then it just ended up being Jack from Will and Grace.
Oh.
And then Brian from the sound guy from The Office.
Yeah. The literal worst character in the history of The Office.
But this here, they're watching the actual Three Stooges. Eric sees it and goes, "Oh, you're right. It is dangerous," and pulls his sword out at it.
Fuck. Oh my
To
god.
which the realtor ducks. It's not a gun. It's a sword.
Oh, I'm sorry. You wouldn't. It's still a knee-jerk reaction, Gordo. You can't be like, that's not a logical way to defend a sword. If someone pulls a sword out, like, yeah.
Yeah, Gordo, show us your sword defense.
Ah!
Do you want to see my
I'll
dagger?
dab on your sword. And he died that day, and his gravestone says, I dabbed on that sword.
I mean, I have a dagger. That's actually how you defend against a sword.
Oh, yeah, show us. Okay. The sword would put the dagger into you.
Where is it? There we go.
That's not a dagger, that's a knife.
That's a switchblade.
Is anyone else alarmed that he just has it on him, though, at the desk?
No, I've hit my knife at my desk.
I
too.
have
used to
knives
open
at my
mail.
desk.
You never
too.
know. You could have to defend. What happens if people scale the walls of my inner courtyard?
You're dead.
Yeah, you're dead, dude. If they're scaling walls, your little knife isn't gonna do shit.
Well, when they go up to the thing, I just go boom right into it, and then they fall.
It's gonna be a bunch of ninjas coming to steal their screen back.
A problem I had with this whole thing, right? So this is the opening scene. And then we get into the intro. The intro itself tells you the story of, like, basically, at least gives us enough to be like, they fell asleep and now here they are. Out of context, to not have that opening scene, like the intro happened before it, you turn this on, you don't know exactly what the show is. You're like, what the fuck is this?
It's not integrated properly. It's just not.
Even if, like, from episode 2 on, you want to use the intro after a scene, that's fine. Episode 1, you need to slide this to the beginning. We can't just have
Yeah, I
Snow
agree.
White looking for an apartment, zero context. Like, that's
Yeah.
just too much.
Also, it was all pictures and narration, so they could have made it a little bit longer and explained all the questions we have now, how they got to America.
Yeah, because it could have
and
been
all
an
that,
extended
like-
version, because it's not even like the real intro. Like, I don't know how this works. So, to explain it to you guys listening, it's like they're reading a fairy tale. They're telling us the story of what happened, everything we've described already, while there's, like, you know, like drawings of the situation to go along with the story. So it looks like they're reading like a children's book to you and telling you this fairy tale. Now we know Eric and Snow White slept for 1,000 years, but so did the evil stepmother, and so did one of the dwarfs. Now here they are. And then it gets into a more traditional theme of, like, 80s intro saxophone music and just clips of the show. Like the
it's like a
Charmings.
jaunty sax tune all of a sudden.
So I don't even know if, I mean, we're only going by first episode. I didn't watch anything else. Is that little storybook thing in future episodes, or is it just like,
I don't think. I would guess no. I would guess.
I would
just
guess
like,
no.
Bop, 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 bop. Look at Snow White. Is every episode after this?
Here's another issue I have. I don't know where the licensing is and who owns what. I don't know, like,
It sounds like they're trying to be in between licensing
but
issues.
they're saying Snow White. I mean, like, flat out saying Snow
If
White.
I had to guess,
So-
Snow White is probably.
Well, they
Public
only call
domain.
her Snow.
I was gonna say they never officially call her Snow White. They call her Snow Charming at one point, and then they call her Snow. I
No,
don't
they
think
say
they-
Snow White in the intro.
Yeah, they
They
do.
say, once upon a time, there was a vain queen who was so jealous of her beautiful stepdaughter, Snow White, that she poisoned her with an apple.
It's got to be, dude. Grimm's Fairy Tales has to be public domain because
Yeah, like Joe was saying, Grimm's Fairy Tale is public domain. They can't completely own it, but they own their version. That's how a lot of the stuff is.
Okay, so that would answer this part of my question then, because I'm like, all right, if you have license to use Snow White or whatever, during this little saxophone ditty, can't we have like a saxophone rendition of Whistle While You Work or something if you want to have like an
No.
80s saxophone?
Oh, that's definitely owned by Disney.
But this is an ABC show, so was ABC and Disney interlocked at this time?
I don't believe so at this point. No.
Oh, so they should make it now, and then they'll have all the rights. Bring back
They
the
should
Charming.
remake this sitcom.
If you give me saxophone Whistle While You Work for the intro, I'll give it a shot.
And keep it in the 80s.
Okay, now you've got me back.
Question for maybe Ferg.
Yeah.
Prince Charming. Does he ever actually have a name in any of the Disney movies? Is it actually Eric?
No, Prince Eric is Little Mermaids.
Okay, that's what I thought.
But does this predate This predates Little Mermaid, right? That's like 90
Actually, yeah. Good point.
on NBC or on ABC.
But in Snow White, Prince Charming doesn't have a name. He's just
In
Prince
Snow
Charming.
White, no, it's Prince Florian.
Okay. So it's Florian.
I don't know that by heart. I looked it up earlier.
You could have had the win.
No.
Any Disney information you give us,
I
I'll
was
assume
not
you already
questioning
knew
it.
it. Yeah, you didn't have to rat yourself out.
I knew Prince Charming was from Cinderella. And I'm like, so wait, what's Snow White's prince's name? I'm like, did they just use the same prince and everything?
So I guess then technically even this doesn't make sense if we're going by the actual lore of the story, because it's not Prince Charming is not her prince.
Hey, you guys don't see a lot of Florians these days, huh?
Good point.
Yeah.
I love the idea of you just editing in you doing my line the entire episode.
You don't see a lot of Florians these days, eh, you guys?
Who's putting all the Florians in the water these days, am I right?
No, RFK's taking them out.
So anyways, you know what I was thinking? You don't see a lot of Florians these days.
Can you think of a Florian?
I actually know a Florian.
You know
Do
a
you
Florian?
really?
Yes.
You sure it's not a florist?
Okay, so the top 3 Florians when you're Googling, if you just type Florian and hit space and you look for last names.
Florian the Machine?
No, is Florian Wirtz, a German soccer player, Florian Ingert, a researcher, and now they're reaching here because the third one is Florian Gadsby, a ceramist.
Well, maybe they make very nice ceramics.
I'm going to click on him.
Hey, at least one of them's German, unlike this.
Anyways, in the meantime, we get past this intro. First scene, we see Queen Lillian, and she's talking to her mirror. And she's doing the whole mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all. And he comes up and goes, honey, don't ask.
Fuck me. I was
It's just
fucking
like-
done here.
Yeah.
Get yourself
I
some
love
control
it.
top pandas, girl. Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. It's like, why are we watching this?
I
It's
like- hold on.
24
First
minutes
off, Joe,
long.
I at no point, like, in your brain at some point, you physically did turn him into Little Richard.
He is the Richard in my brain now.
I would like this show so much more if it was Little Richard in the mirror, to be
That
fair.
would be way better.
Lillian not happy to be in the situation, but she is the source of it, as the mayor's reminding her. So now she lives in the suburbs.
Yeah, bitch, this is your fault.
We get to a point where she's like, put yourself to work. Let me see what's going on. And like he flips and we can see everyone else in the house through the mirror. We cut to Eric telling his 2 sons like a story. He's talking about like a story of him like taking down a dragon.
Yeah, I was taking down a dragon when I was dragging these nuts across the floor.
We all knew it was coming at some point.
I hate that you were in charge of editing.
He tells the story. He's going over it all, and he's playing with the kids and wrestling around with them. And Snow White shows up, and it's like, all right, my little dragon slayer, time for your nap. And the kid goes, Mom, I just slept for 1,000 years.
Oh my fucking god.
First clock watch, right here.
So so a thing I had with this show, I understand that this is a very gimmicky show, but there's a point where I'm like, I get it. Not every line needs to be like a hook, like, get it? It's Snow White in modern day. And there was like so much of that throughout this whole show over and over and over again.
This kid had to deal with Prince Charming and Horny Frank.
That's true.
There's also one of Horny Frank's kids.
That's what I mean, yeah.
That explains why Prince Charming is so horny in this show.
He's been horny for 1,000 years.
Wait, why? Who's the kid?
It's the son from Step by Step.
Yeah, it's JT.
It is?
Yeah.
One of the kids is JT. One of them is Guy from the Mighty Ducks. The kid who's the fucking love interest in Casper, by the way.
Oh, wow. Okay. You know what's weird? Brandon Call. Yeah. So Brandon Call, who is JT Lambert, plays his son. When you go to his IMDb, I didn't notice it then because it's just a picture of him as a child with a cast on. It's so bizarre. All right. That's why I didn't pick up on that.
Joe, you said he was in Casper?
Ooh. You know, boys, technically he's 1,000 years old, so fair game for me, Casper.
No, Casper.
That's
No.
not the good thing to say. I mean, I guess he is, if they say 1,000 years on the grid. No, all right, bye, Casper. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. He shows up here sometimes.
You can't do that in the same episode that we talk about Bill Cosby, Casper.
Casper, I will not let you talk about Bill Cosby right now. We need to keep this going.
Yeah, let's keep this going. Kids run upstairs to like take a nap or whatever, and Eric turns around, sees Snow White bent over trying to clean up, and just goes like, "Urgh."
He sees her butthole and growls. What are we doing?
Hold on. Not her butthole. No. She was bent over. She was not spreading her cheeks open at him. She was cleaning
She was
something up.
goatseeing.
Look, butthole shows when you bend. That's just natural body. I'm not being
No,
weird
it does
here.
not.
No, it doesn't. How do you bend?
Everybody bend over the way she was bent over. You bend 90
You're
degrees.
the only, you wear skin tight jeans. It might happen to you. It doesn't happen to normal people.
No, it would happen to me less because my cheeks are tightened by the jeans.
I've never bent over. You can't see my butthole.
Everybody pause right now.
Oh.
Do you want me to bend over and see?
No.
Yeah. No, so
Gordo, call your wife. Show her. See what she says.
So she's bent over.
Wait, am I missing something? Is she not clothed?
She's wearing clothes.
How are you seeing butthole through clothes, Joe?
He is looking at where her butthole is open from her bent.
Joe, some people like looking at butts, not the whole part, the butt part.
I'm not saying anything about one way or the other. I'm just saying when somebody bends over.
I am saying one way or another. It's the butt part people like.
It's the meaty, fleshy bits.
Yeah.
Me too. I'm not saying that I'm into the hole. I'm just saying if a person bends over, the cheeks open.
Joe's into the hole.
Is that why you like Oz so much?
My tattoo.
Ah, behold, a sheath for my sword.
Behold.
Behold.
Oh, behold.
So he grunts and walks towards her. She's like, not now.
He like Tim Allen, like.
Yeah. And he's like, what's the matter? He's like, I miss the old days. All our friends. I never even RSVP'd to Sleeping Beauty's baby shower. Again, it's a lot of these, they're just really obvious jokes that, I understand it's a gimmicky show, but just be more clever.
It's also sad too, especially back then, that Sleeping Beauty's baby has been dead for 970 years.
What a terribly dark way to look at that. She's worried about how they're going to fit into modern day society and with the kids and everything too. Like, are they going to make new friends? It's like, oh, don't worry. Like, we're a likable, intelligent, good looking couple. Like, everything will be fine.
So, question right here. They would be speaking in old English if they, right?
Technically German.
I was going to say, technically it's German, right?
Yeah. Old-timey
Yeah, but
German.
these are things that, all those movies, if we're going to dissect where they're from, should have different languages and dialects and stuff that just kind of get Americanized. So, yeah, to pass.
Maybe they are speaking German and it's just translated for us via dub.
Oh, maybe. It would be a lot cooler if they were speaking old-timey English.
Well, since they're from Germany and now live in Los Angeles, that makes no sense.
The old button, fine. We'll do German. The old buttonhole.
Right. So they continue to talk, and this leads into, Prince Charming getting his charm on, and eventually the two of them share a kiss. As that's happening, Lillian walks in. It's like, oh, mop it up. Like, oh, hello, mother. Now, again, this is her stepmother. Was that I can't even remember. Is that movie accurate to Snow White?
The
Was
evil queen.
witch was she that was a stepmother in the movie?
Wicked stepmother, yeah.
Well, you're thinking of Cinderella's.
Cinderella was a stepmother, but here it's also being portrayed as a stepmother. That wasn't the case.
I believe she's married to the father, and then the father dies, so she's the queen.
Got it.
The Grimms had some mommy issue shit.
And I'm sure Snow White was really grim, because all those fairy tales were.
That's bad even for you.
No, I mean, like, they were just, like, gruesome. Like, they were, sorry, I realized I made a pun, but I didn't mean it that way.
You were definitely trying to. And you're smirking. You know you were.
Not that I love to objectify, but Snow White's got some cannons, huh? That's the scene I noticed, and I was like, Jesus Christ, Snow.
I'll tell you, I didn't notice because I saw red this entire episode. I was just like, why the
Joe was busy looking at her butthole.
Yeah, I was like, show me the real thing, girl.
She had some snowballs.
Well, Nick, if you're interested in her, boy, do I have some good news for you. A year or two prior to this coming out, she's very naked in a movie. You can go ahead and Google that when you want to.
She did a lot of horror movies, I noticed on her IMDb.
Yeah, she's in I Know, He Knows You're Alone, right? Which is the first Tom Hanks movie, I want to say.
So when Lillian comes down, she's complaining about the house and she's saying, you call this dump a castle? There's no tower. There's no dungeon. There's only 2.5 baths. And then they get into the, well, let me remind you that if it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be here. Oh, okay, blame it on me. You threw me down a bottomless pit. Well, you told the woodsman to cut out my heart.
Yeah, she's clearly in the wrong here.
I'll say I have 1.5 baths and I feel like a fucking king. I'm like, 2 people can pee at once. I can't even imagine complaining about anything more than that.
People from 1,000 years ago identifying that a bathroom's only a half bath.
Yeah, they came from like shitting in holes in the ground. Right. And now the half bath is too much.
I'd like to think the mirror educated them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't shower in that one. It doesn't count. Like, okay, thank you, mirror.
It's Little Richard.
It's because he's doing Little Richard.
He's not. He doesn't do anything remotely. Richard. Forgive the guy for happening to have a mustache. Yeah, I helped. While they're having this argument, this is when we meet Luther the first time. Luther, again, if you recall from earlier, is the one dwarf that made it down here with them or got put under the spell because there was Happy, Doc, Sleepy, Luther.
Is he the guy that fixes the instruments?
So I assume this was a licensing thing. They couldn't like go with one of those names. So
yeah, you can't be like Sleepy or whatever, Sneezy.
Sleepy would be a terrible person to bring with you.
So Luther comes out. He's sweeping up the floor for some reason. And while he's doing it, he's whistling. And you get, must you whistle while you work?
The crowd fucking loses their mind here.
Yeah.
So bad.
And then he like holds up the broom. He's like, here, Lillian, hop on and fly out of my life.
This poor guy. Look, he's dead. I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but holy shit, bud. This is so fucking bad.
And then she's like, how would you like to be turned into a frog? And he's like, wait, before you do that, watch the spot on your dress. And does that thing where like, what's that called when you like drag your finger up a person's face and nose?
I think it's called, I think that's the actual term for it. It's
as I'm like writing stuff down, I'm like, what do I call that? It's like,
does it have a name?
I don't know.
It's just called the what's that on your shirt. Like, that's what I...
Yeah.
I wrote in my notes, does the finger up to the nose gotcha gimmick, then runs away. Kill me. Those are my exact notes.
My note says, does the slide the finger up your nose thing?
This is the first time in a long time I've written kill me this many times in my notes.
Good. You deserve this. You usually pick these shows that make me want to kill myself, so this is payback.
I don't think I've done this to you.
I got more in the trigger, in the fucking gun for you.
Better than at least it wasn't 28 minutes.
Chamber, thank you. I couldn't fucking think of the word.
So she starts chasing him around the room after he does that to her. And then as they like walk to the door that goes to the kitchen, it has that like split door. So he goes through just the bottom half, him being, a smaller person. And she eventually like chases him out. So she's out of the room too.
She takes a good bump. She runs into the top part of the door.
This actress too is one of those people who like came up, she's older, right? And this is the 80s, where she's done like all these like Shakespearean plays and like all this like real acting work. And then it's like this and King Ralph are like within a year of each other. It's like my favorite 1-2 punch. It's like, and you're also the queen in the John Goodman Queen movie from the 80s.
You know what it reminds me of? When we covered Thanks and the mother was, what's her name?
Leachman, Cloris Leachman.
And it's just like, you got this great actor to be in this terrible show.
And she's like, I worked with Mel Brooks and I'm doing this shit. How fucking dare you?
So now the doorbell rings and they both look up because they've never heard a doorbell before. I'm like, where's this noise coming from? But happen to notice someone at the doorway anyway, so they just head in that direction. And when they open it up, they see a couple standing there. They're next door neighbors, I presume. And the woman's got like the Jello mold, like the welcome to the neighborhood thing. And it's funny, like I know like the world's changed, right? Like that doesn't happen anymore. But the whole like welcome to the neighborhood, we made you a pie or we made you like a whatever. But like Jello, like you just show up with some Jello.
I think that's an 80s thing.
It hasn't happened in a while, but at our last apartment, the people who moved in below us, it was like 5 years ago, we made cookies and we went down and we are like, hey, where you live upstairs, here's some cookies. And we became like really good friends with them. Like we moved years later, we still talk to them. They were at the baby shower, like they became like real friends. I feel like it's a nice thing to do if someone's moving in, at least say hi, and like then at least you can, if nothing else, you just drive by and go, hey,
yeah,
and like there's
listen,
no weirdness.
And again, it's like it's kind of a dying thing. I'm not saying good or bad, but again, Jello, the most low effort thing you can do. Hey, I mixed up this with water and put it in the fridge for a little while. Here you go.
Hey, she put it in a mold.
I don't know. A mold is extra work. Yeah. If she just made like,
is it?
Well, nowadays, it'd be like, I made Jello shots. Let's get fucking ripped. Be like, whoa, neighbors are fucking weird.
It's the 80s. Maybe Jello takes a lot more effort then.
I don't know.
That was Jello pudding.
That's
and
true.
The pops and the Pokemons and the
Hippin' and the hopping and the bipping and the bopping.
Jazz is stupid.
So when they say hello, the Charmings bow to them.
Why is a king bowing to a peasant?
Yeah.
No, you don't bow to a peasant, you bow to a king.
That's what I'm saying.
yeah,
Why
they
is
bowed to the king.
Well, we find out he is a king. He must have inherently known.
He didn't know yet.
They didn't know yet, but they did bow to him originally.
Bones are also in Jello.
So they introduce themselves. They're Sally and Don Miller. They live next door, and they get invited in, and Eric and Snow introduce themselves, and they go, Snow? She must have been born in the 60s.
Yuck, yuck, yuck.
Snow, she must be an informer.
I like when they were talking, like there's a point where they're catching up and they're asking Snow about her dress, and you just see Eric and he's just like wiggling the Jello because he's never seen such a thing before, and he's like off in the distance entertaining himself.
Actually, him playing with the Jello was my first genuine laugh of the episode.
Also, the actor who plays Don, King of the Carpets, this guy is like been in a bunch of stuff, but he's mainly a voice
Don
actor.
King?
It is Don King, yeah. But he's in a ton of Disney stuff, Ferg. So if you look up this dude, you'd be like, oh, he's in a million things I'm sure you love. But what he, and Ferg, this is also for you, what I appreciate most is, do you know what character he made famous?
Who?
He was No Zone on the Toxic Crusaders, the one with the blue face and the wheel for a leg. So at least I enjoyed knowing this was No Zone.
Oh, yeah. Even I know that. I had that figure.
Yeah, we loved that show as kids. I feel like that should be on some streamer somewhere, but maybe Troma's not letting it out. I don't know.
Maybe with the release
The
of the
new
new
movie.
movie, like maybe they'll dig up some of this stuff. They're trying to make some small talk, and now he's asking Eric, like, what do you do? He goes, about what? Like, how do you make a buck? Make a buck do what?
Dude, all the who's on first shit in this episode is fucking tedious.
I actually, that small exchange I thought was funny. And then they're asking, well, what your job? And then Sally's like, Don's the king of carpets. And he goes, the king? At your service, sire. And like gives him the bow.
And they both bowed down. I was like, oh, God.
I will say this, though. At least I take solace. I mean, the king of carpets is not a thing anymore, right? Like, when somebody goes, I'm buying a house and I'm installing carpets, you're like, you're a psycho. How dare you ruin all this beautiful hardwood by filling the whole house with carpets? Like, that's not a thing we do anymore, right? We all did it when we were younger. Like, our parents did it. Like, just nobody does that anymore.
So that ends that scene. We cut to like later in the day now, and it's, well, late, probably the next day, because it's Snow and Eric, and they're in the kitchen with their kids. I think they're like, it's like before they're going to school. By the way, like just a thing I remember noticing at this point was, we see the exterior, and this house is a fucking gigantic mansion. And then interior, it's like standard sitcom
It's
setup.
cramped. Yeah.
Like this, like the house seems kind of small. Like there's no way like the exterior would even remotely match up to what we see.
I think if you think of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, it's one of the smartest things they ever did is you always feel like that house is huge. That like first floor, that living room is humongous and opens to a giant kitchen. You always feel like it is a mansion in Bel-Air, right? Like this is just like a huge castle on the outside, and the inside it's like not a small house, but like
Yeah, it doesn't match.
And they have that circular tower thing. So they do kind of have a tower.
And for what though? Jay, you had an apartment that had a feature similar to that for a while, and I was
My
just like,
house
who
does.
built this?
Well, in this case, they're trying to find a house that just for, an exterior picture wanted something that somewhat resembled a castle. So I think that's, what they're going for here. And then in my house, my old apartment was just a wild setup. I can't even begin to explain to you half of the things that were done in that house or why, because it logistically made no sense.
I will say this though, as somebody who lives in a house that has sort of like weird turrety roof lines, the quote we got from "We Need a Roof" is terrifying. They're like, oh, this isn't like two flat things. Like you have to like people on a cherry picker all day, or it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
I need a roof, and it's gonna be very, very costly.
Yeah, I hope I die before I need a roof, and that'll be within like 3 years. So who knows?
Gonna say, I don't know what you know about the length of roofs, but yeah, it's like you're probably gonna have to get a new roof more than once in your lifetime.
Not gonna be fun either way. I kind of want the metal ones, but those are even more expensive.
They're way more expensive, but they last a lot longer.
And they sound so cool in the rain.
So if you have the money up front, it's smarter to do it.
Yeah.
But you guys can listen to our Home Improvements podcast later on. Not the
This
show,
old S1E1.
but we did cover Home Improvement. You can go back and listen to that as well.
Pancho Villa, where we talk about Bob Villa and Spanish history.
So this is something I need to point out. They're talking to the kids. They're getting ready in the morning. The kids are having bowls of porridge, right? Completely empty bowls.
Yep.
They didn't even try to put something in a bowl.
Didn't even fucking try.
Not water, not oatmeal, nothing.
Tapioca, anything.
You can literally hear the spoons clinking against the bowl as these kids are like pretending to eat from these empty bowls.
You could have put a packet of instant oatmeal in these and gotten a cup of hot water from catering they use in tea and made oatmeal in like 2 fucking seconds.
Maybe
This
it's
is just, like,
magic
egregious.
porridge.
It was one of those things that like got under, like it shouldn't get at, like of all the things that we've picked apart on the show, this like really fucking irked me because you can't put a shred of effort into just putting an item in the bowl.
Put some fruit in there. Put something. Put cornflakes. Just buy cornflakes. You buy Cheerios. A giant box of Cheerios in 2025 is like $3. Like, what was it in 87? There's not in the... yeah, it's very aggravating.
It's actually, in 2025, probably closer to 10.
And there was like an opportunity. You could have went with like an even better, like there's a joke you could have had out of that too, because they could have been eating something that's more modern, like Fruit Loops. And the kids could have been like, I like the new porridge even more than the old porridge. You're like something, you know what I mean? Like you could have identified, they didn't have to eat porridge. They could have had anything in the bowl that was like a more like something kid friendly.
It could have been like that scene in the Addams Family movie when Gomez is eating, what is it? Pricks? He's eating some kind of fruity cereal when they get kicked out of the house.
Yeah. Cookie Crisp.
So now the kids are talking and one of them's just like, do you think the other kids are going to like us? It's like, yeah, of course they will, you charming boys. Like, don't forget what we always taught you. Be kind, courteous, and honest.
Why are they wearing like a crest on their shirts?
That's the family crest. And that was
The
the style
royalty.
in those days, yeah.
But they didn't wear that.
Were you there?
No, but I've seen enough historical YouTube that they did not do that.
There is nothing less fucking... I've seen a historical YouTube like, oh, look at Gorda, the scholar.
Hey, listen, I'm getting a whole bunch of AI Inuit videos right now. I know a lot about Inuit culture.
Yeah, they say, Gorda, 10,000 hours, 100,000 hours of AI Inuit videos, and you're an expert.
Close.
It's another one of those things too, though, where they're dressed that way, right? And regardless of if it's time appropriate or not, Snow had said earlier that she's afraid of them like fitting in the modern day. Maybe if that's already a concern of yours, wouldn't you have already addressed that before these kids go to school and be like, oh, no one dresses like this. I need my kids to look like the other kids. Now, this is something that comes up later in the episode, but if it's already in her brain and she vocalized this earlier in the episode, why would you send the kids dressed like this?
But they don't know anybody yet, So maybe she didn't know where to get clothes. When she goes later in the episode to modernize everything, it's because she has the neighbor as a friend.
I guess that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, but they somehow were able to land a house. So, I don't know. Again, it's like there's just so many things that I just wish like a little bit more was explained before we get into like the first scene.
Magic.
Later on, we cut into the magic mirror and he's watching the Price is Right and he's like playing along with the game.
I don't know if you guys follow like the Costco Instagram. I don't know why I do, but
Costco or the Costco boys? Boom!
Boom!
yeah, I don't give a shit about those guys. I care about the fact that Costco just came out with a like 10-foot tall Plinko Price is Right game that you can play where it does like voices, and this may be in my house within the next week.
That'd be fun for all of 5 minutes, and then you'd get bored of it.
It's fun when you have people over you. It'll be one of those things you'll never use unless people are there.
Then you'd all be bored after 5 minutes.
I can play a solid half hour.
You were not
Plinko.
invited to Plinko.
Playing
night.
Plinko, you drop the thing and it lands in the hole.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you hated Plinko so much.
I fucking hate Plinko.
Well, as a man who loves Plinko and has a Costco membership, I'm probably buying the very expensive, stupid Drew Carey Plinko board.
Well, you know what? When you have Plinko night, you let me know.
Don't invite me.
Everyone but Ferg is invited to Plinko night.
Do I get to see the boy hole?
No.
No. At Ferg, you can come up, but you can't play. You can only eat tiny cucumbers. That's your entire evening.
Sounds like my kind of night.
I can't remember, for anyone listening, did Ferg mention the tiny cucumbers on the show or before we were
I don't think it was on the
Before we
show.
recorded.
All right, because I'm like, there's people listening right now going, why is Ferg eating tiny cucumbers? So,
I legit had to text my wife, be like, where'd you get the tiny cucumbers from, babe? Like, I couldn't remember.
I just picked them early.
Shit.
Wait, hold on. Update. Market basket.
Okay.
Alternate answer. He doesn't eat vegetables. Is there a second test?
So now he's watching Price is Right. Lillian walks into her room. She's feeling pretty good about herself. I guess she just got like this a whole makeover and bought this new item, which she was very impressed with. It was an eyelash curler, something she had never seen before. So with all these new beauty things she's done, she is now sure that she's the fairest of them all. So she asks the mirror once again, like, you know, mirror, mirror on the wall, and does the whole thing. And then when she says, who's the fairest of them all, that's when he goes, Christy Brinkley's looking good.
She's in vacation with Chevy Chase. You ain't got nothing, girl.
Woo! And started playing piano, right? Yeah.
Can we make that shirt the mirror, but it's Little Richard?
Little Richard.
Inside of it?
That says Christy
Yeah.
Brinkley girl. Woo!
She's like, no, who's the fair? It's like, listen, I don't want to ruin your night, but it's still Snow White.
Was that intentionally rhymed? Is he rhyming and I just noticed it that
No,
time?
I don't think it was like meant to be a rhyme. That was the only, it just happened to rhyme. And she's like, what are you talking about? Like, she's scrubbing the kitchen right now. And she's got this like thing on her head. And it's like, no, but you don't understand. It's like, and basically saying that like her overall happiness and positive attitude and glow, like make her, you know, like elevates her beauty even more so.
It's an aura.
She's got Riz.
Stop. So the mirror changes over and like his face disappears and it shows you Snow White. And was she like freeing birds? Like, well, I don't know where all the birds just on
No,
the...
Snow White, when
They're on
she
the
cleans the
windowsill.
house, she whistles and the animals come and help her clean.
Oh, right. So now she's like telling the birds that they have to leave. She has work to do.
Which Luther, not a fan of.
Yeah, well, she kind of shoot them all out towards him, so he was probably standing there, and then all these birds were flying overhead.
He should have came in covered in bird shit.
That would have been funny.
Better gag, yeah.
So he runs in, crummy birds, and like walks right out, and then Lillian comes in. It's like, will you stop that? It's making you glow. I mean, oh, you look tired, dear. Like, have some juice. And like juice magically like poofs. And she's like, oh, thanks. Wait a minute, apple juice, mother. It's like, oh, you're trying to poison me and kill me again.
Fucking tedious.
See, I want this show. I want the show where it's just her trying to kill her
All
in
the
multiple
time?
ways all the time in different episodes, living with them.
I agree, but what makes it a better sitcom is if she's Eric's mom.
Yeah.
If she's Eric's mom
Yeah.
and she doesn't like Snow White, then it makes more sense. than her being the stepmom like 1,000 years later, where the husband is dead.
I guess we're already off the actual lore of Snow White, so I guess they could just at this point change it around. She's like, "Oh, I'm not trying to hurt you. You need to trust me," and like pours the apple juice down the drain, and it like explodes, and there's green mist coming up everywhere. I think that's something this show could have did too, is like lean into that like Bewitched type of humor, like because we get a little bit of it, and I think like maybe they needed a little bit more of that throughout the episode.
I'm pretty sure that smoke legitimately affected her too, because she coughs, and when she comes back, she's still coughing, and it seemed real to me.
She is a good actress.
I mean, this poor woman goes through a lot where they're like, she must have gone through crow training. That is a thing that is so excessive for what she had to do.
Hey, big budget.
Crows are pretty smart.
Crows actually, do you know it's illegal? I saw this video the other day. It's actually illegal to own crows in the United States in all 50 states.
They could just eat crow.
It's also a raven.
Oh, is it a raven?
Did you guys catch the name of it?
Quoth.
When she calls it up the stairs later?
It's Quinn, right?
Quote.
Oh, that makes sense for a raven.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm sorry. At that point, my brain was probably like, doo 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 doo. I wasn't even picking that shit up anymore.
Oh, he's quote the Raven.
Yeah.
Nevermore.
Quote the third season, nevermore.
That one took the slow train to Gordo's ear.
That means you're a slut in Philadelphia, by the way.
It's funny because Gordo doesn't get that.
The only person who doesn't follow The Office.
Lillian's talking to Snow, and she's basically saying like, hey, I know you love Eric and you trust him, but like you have to realize that you guys are destined for a life of misery. It's like, think about it, like you sent your boys to school in tights, and like what kind of job is Eric gonna get? She's like, oh, you're trying to poison me with your words now, and I'm not listening. She's like, Eric will get a job and the boys will make new friends at school. It's like, oh yeah, and everyone's gonna live happily ever after.
But did he have a job previously? Because he was a fucking prince.
Yeah, he was a prince. That was the job.
Yeah, it is a job in itself, but yeah, and that's 1,000 years ago, and it's tough to put that on your resume. So like, we hear Eric coming home right after she's kind of having this talk with her, and you get the honey, I'm home, and she's like, oh, it's Eric, and she like runs, to the other room and greets him with the hug and everything. And that's when he gives the, as you said at the beginning of the episode, like, oh boy, do I need a grog. And she goes, what kind of job did you get? Oh, I didn't get a job today. Like, I never got past the application. It's tough to mention that the reason for leaving your last position was an evil spell.
Just like no thought put into that.
I don't know. I think that's a lot of thought, because he would have just got the job. And we'd be going, how did he get a job when he hasn't had any of this, that, and this?
Or his social security card, an identification card, anything.
Man, Beldar Conehead got a job, okay?
Yeah, but Beldar had to...
This is either a fantasy world or it's not, and they're like living in between.
Well, that I think is that's the problematic part. It's
the problem and the point of the show, right?
This was one of the problems with the Munsters today, too. There was a lot of questions just like this.
It's like they're not establishing the lore as like reality. They're kind of like ignoring it at the same time as being a part of it. And it's really confusing, and it leaves a lot of room for these questions that don't need to be there. Just have it be in a fucking magical land, or like, I don't know. It's just so stupid and unnecessary.
If you put them in modern day, I just think they have to be more oblivious to everything. And you can't ever really let them be smartened towards things that are going on modern. Like I said before, when Snow's saying, hey, like, are we going to fit in and stuff, like, are the kids going to be able to make friends at school? Like, you shouldn't have those thoughts. You need to live in fairy tale land. You can't break that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have to be so oblivious to everything at all times that it almost angers people that you live in this world all to yourself.
And they can gradually learn, right? Whereas you can't. That's why
you
it
learn
feels
a little
like
more each episode.
Yeah, and that's why it feels like we missed so much of the development of this story. Not even just the characters, just the development of the story. It just starts. They're looking for a house.
Yeah, like how did the person that tried to kill them end up living with them?
That's what I'm saying. Why is she also there? I don't get it.
Awkward, but I'm here too now, and you're the only people I know.
Now, my thing would be have Prince Charming and them move to Florida or work at Disneyland in California.
But are they aware that there's a Disneyland?
Yeah, we don't know where they have any awareness of anything yet, situationally.
Now, let's say this. Now, let's say, hypothetically, Gordon, I'll give you, like, let's say this was linked to Disney. You could have a show where this does happen and the real Snow White really does exist and wakes up modern day. And at some point they find an advertisement for Disneyland and he goes, oh, look, it's all our friends. And like they go there and they, you know, they find a job, you know, like if Disney was on board, you could do something like that where they're living amongst characters that they think are real, but they're the only real ones in the situation.
See, we just wrote it better.
See, actually, give me that show.
Disney would have to be on board, and Disney is not on board.
They were not yet.
Or you could have them, in theory, like get a job at any theme park.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's what I was going to say.
Six Flags over fucking Los Angeles.
Like something that's like a time appropriate, like, you know, get
Not
to
even.
like
Like
one
Santa's
of those like
Village.
medieval times restaurants or something. You know,
Medieval
like something
Times
like
would be a good one. Yeah.
I will say this though, just to jump back to what Ferg mentioned a little while ago with Coneheads. That is why Coneheads is so much better written than this, because there's a whole scene where he gets a fake social security number and name and everything, and that's
Not
how
when
they
he's the
catch him.
cab driver.
Donald R. D. Chico. Like, that is why they know who he is. Like, it makes no sense. At least he's trying. Eric here is not trying. He can't get a job because he has no credentials.
Credentials are, it's the 80s.
Well, Beldar's were, it's
80s.
the 90s, and he still had to pay a lot of money to go to, what was the college they went to with Adam Sandler? Hey, my mother went there. Hobart College. There it is.
now the kids are walking in and, you know, they say hi to their parents and they're asking, hey, how was school? And then right off the bat, they made fun of our clothes. Like, oh, kids could be so cruel. Lillian says, that's what I like about them. And then Thomas got in trouble for fighting. And it's like, again, mom thought that there might be an issue with them acclimating into the school, but did nothing about it, or thought to do nothing about it. We find out, yeah, Thomas, one of the sons, gets in a fight. Well, what did you get in a fight for? They call me a liar. And then we find out that the teacher was telling them the story of Cinderella. And he went, oh, my dad used to date her.
And that's accurate. He married her because Prince Charming is from Cinderella.
Well, in this version, it's a little different. But Snow goes, oh, Thomas, your father never dated Cindy. So the fact that he got in a fight isn't even like, that's not even the alarming part, or the fact that he was getting picked on for his clothes. But, you know, the factualness of, oh, your father never dated Cinderella.
See, what I picked up as a weird thing here is that this dad tells his kid about his, like, earlier sexual conquests. He's like, don't tell your mom, but I used to fuck Cinderella. Like, why is that a conversation you're having with your fucking 8-year-old?
Because they became men when they fought the dragons. And again,
Look, this dragon
they were
might kill you.
medieval.
So I'll tell you about this coos I got. That's fucking insane.
He just said, in fairness, he just said dated.
Yeah, let
We
me
know
put
what
on my
dating
history
means.
hat here, Joe. All right, history hat is on. You were a man at like 12.
He's
so
right.
this kid is like right there, so he can know.
I don't think that kid's 12.
He's not. I said he's right there.
But to go back to how you mentioned them slaying
How old
the
is
dragon,
he? Right there. Oh, okay, thank you for clarifying. How many candles do you want on his cake? Right there.
But he tells a story about them fighting a dragon together. And to go back to what Nick was saying earlier about they need to be in a mythological world or fantasy world, dragons don't exist. They never existed, and they killed a dragon. So they're saying dragons existed in our history. You think they'd be proved? You
That's a
think
good
it'd be
point, too.
something?
That is
Yeah.
a good point.
Maybe they're just referring to heroin addiction.
Chasing you'll never catch that dragon.
Maybe they were referring to when Prince Charming was dragging these nuts on Cindy's.
Oh, thank you.
You can't
You've already
do it
done it
twice.
this episode.
You can't do it twice.
Once an episode is already too much.
Yeah, once is a nightmare. 2 is just too much.
That was funny.
Nope.
Dad replies with the whole, oh, no, we didn't date. I went for a ride in her pumpkin one.
By pumpkin, he means butthole.
You're like grasping at this point. Yeah.
That was a grim joke.
Skibbity.
Skibbity.
And then we find out Thomas also told the class about slaying a dragon with his father. And They're like, well, we were supposed to write what we did on our summer vacation. Because of that, they're sending over someone called a pea psychologist.
This joke, they keep running this into the ground. It's not a funny joke to begin with. I don't get why they thought this would play.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would foreign people understand the English language? Why is there a P?
I feel like the psychologist joke to American audiences in 1987, like this joke doesn't work to me.
Well, it doesn't work to me either. I'm just trying to make it make sense.
Heavy lifting you've got ahead of you, sir.
Now, the mother-in-law gives like the whole "told you so" and then runs up the stairs. That cuts to like an exterior shot of the house again. Now we're flashing forward and it's nighttime, and we just hear, "But honey, it's been 1,000 years. A man has needs."
Pony
And now
Prince.
we cut inside the bedroom, and she's like, "But I'm just so worried about this pea psychologist." She gets corrected. We talked to Don and Sally. It's just a man. The P is silent.
I know I reach a lot, but like the P is silent was to me a sex joke, right? Like, sorry, honey, the P is silent.
You're right. You are reaching.
Yeah, you are reaching. That wasn't funny, Joe.
Elaborate?
I wasn't trying to be funny. I was saying, I wasn't saying, isn't it a funny joke that he said the P is silent? I was saying what I got as a reference point here was
I didn't think so.
their joke was the P is silent. Like his P is not getting 1,000 years. It's silent.
I think he just corrected her so they didn't have to make that joke 100 more times every time they say psychologist.
I mean, I'm okay with that too. I'm also at this point looking at the clock being like, there is 7 more minutes of this fucking show.
And then continues on with the whole like, Sally says if the psychologist thinks that Tommy is different somehow, it's going to keep him from going to the right prep school or college, and then he'll never be a lawyer. So I'm glad that I'll say the delivery here is good because all the stuff she's saying, she shouldn't understand. So now you know when she's talking about prep school and stuff, she's literally just verbatim repeating what she heard from her neighbor.
But why is Sally saying he should be a lawyer when her husband is the king of carpets? Like, he's
You want a carpet competition? You got to send him in a different direction.
different than lawyer, right? He made his way. He made his bones doing something very different than lawyering.
But maybe the king of carpet also needs a lawyer.
I'm legal counsel for my crazy neighbor, the king of carpets.
That's when Snow starts saying, I'm not taking any chances. Tomorrow I'm going someplace called Neiman Marcus. Is that like a popular...
I think.
It's a high-end, like, department store. It's like Saks Fifth Avenue, like that type of thing.
But it's like a fancy store.
Yes, yeah. It's like high-end.
Yeah, they're still around.
So she's saying, we're going to get everything we need at this store to fit in. And it's like what? Well, like Reeboks. That's got to be sponsored, right? That's such a weird, specific thing to mention.
Like, to use a brand name like that, yeah.
Are any of them wearing Reeboks later? I never actually thought to look.
I don't know. But she was told that everyone has to have them. She thinks it's law.
They come back with BK Knights, and they're like, I'm sorry, you can't hang out.
The ratchet ones.
And then we cut a little later, and Snow's in this, like, not workout gear, like very 80s outfit, like the big, like, sweatshirt and headband on.
It's kind of like a Olivia Newton-John physical gear.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they're playing Material Girl by Madonna. I'm like, that's probably a heavy licensing fee.
Must that have cost licensing-wise, right?
Especially at the time, yeah.
This is 87 too. Madonna is like
Prime.
the most popular person in the world.
And this song
Like,
has to be fairly new, right? Material Girl. So, like, it was probably a really expensive song.
I think this is a few years earlier because this is 87. So I forget what album this would have been on, but like this is post like Weird Al doing a cover of it, and this is post like Desperately Seeking Susan. Like Madonna is like the biggest pop star in the world.
Yeah, 84. So yeah, a few years prior.
I know Ryan Reynolds said it was really, really expensive to get her to allow them to use Like a Prayer and Deadpool vs. Wolverine. So I can only imagine back then.
So yeah, she's dressed like that. They're playing the song. She bought just about every appliance known to man. I think she's holding like one of those old like orange juicers, but she's putting it next to like a lineup of like every other kitchen appliance you can have.
Where did they get this money?
Royalty.
It's nice to see that like appliances all look so sterile now. Like seeing all of those together was kind of just nice. Like it was like a childhood memory to be like, oh, remember when everything looked like that with the big hard buttons.
I was actually talking about this at work earlier today. Just the idea of not to sound like the old guy, but like all the appliances that like our grandparents had until like death worked, for 40, 50 years. And then now you could buy a blender that costs $400 and it will break in 5 months.
Yeah, like Vita Ninja is dead next year. You just buy another one. Yeah.
Back then, they were sold by door-to-door salesmen, and they had to like.
Well, it's one of those things. Like at some point, these companies realized. I think Joe, like months ago, you were talking about Tupperware, but like you have these things that were like, these things are indestructible. They will last you forever, and if they don't, we'll give you a free one. And then after a while, you're like, well, now that we've sold to everybody, what the fuck? How do we get more business?
You're done.
We have an indestructible product, and we're going to give a free shit to everyone who breaks it.
I don't know. I mean, look at KitchenAid. They make the blenders, or the mixers rather, and like they keep making all these crazy attachments for them. And those
Because
things
the
are like
motor
indestructible.
dies.
Yeah,
Nope.
but you could still get it replaced.
Nobody gets the motor replaced though. The motor goes, you buy a new one.
So yeah, I just got one recently, and the warranty does travel over, but it was only like for another 6 months. And the motors do notoriously go on them.
But think about it this way: it's like everybody here has an air fryer.
Yep.
Mine was small. I love my air fryer so much, I bought a bigger one, and that's what happens with appliances. You get ones you fall in love with, and then you upgrade.
And Tupperware is similar too, right? Where like you're making food and you only need the smaller size because it's like you alone, and then you are with somebody. You need bigger Tupperware for making more food, and then it just keeps going. Eventually, you need to like, how to put half a meatloaf in this. You need bigger ones. You just keep buying it.
And then you lose the tops, and then you have to buy a new set.
Yup.
There's like a maybe an hour north from here, like not a mall, but like a village full of like, outlets and stuff. We walked by and there was a place that was just like the lid store. They were like, did you lose a lid for one of your Tupperwares? The glass ones, the plastic ones, whatever. We've got a lid that fits every size.
That's $1 million idea.
Yeah, I was like, this is the most genius store ever.
Wow, that's clever.
And you forget too, if you put something in there that has like any bit of heat on it, there's condensation. You can get mold, right? So like you can go through them pretty quick.
I dumbed down my Tupperware. I like if you were to get like a soup from a restaurant, you get it in like that plastic container. It's like a quart
tall, like pint.
Yeah, I bought like 50 of those, 50 of the smaller ones, which is like a whatever it is, and then the even smaller ones, and that. So I got like 50 of each of those because I would have bought less, but you kind of can't buy less of those. And like essentially everything you cook can go in them. You can do a lot of prepping with it. You label it, you put it in the fridge. It's just like it's a good fridge saver too. This is a weird conversation to be having now that I'm talking about.
Not that we're all 40.
Yeah, I guess not.
All showing our age.
So Eric walks in and he's like, "Oh, well, don't you look nice? Very modern and sexy."
He's in a suit, by the way.
A 3-piece suit.
He didn't get a woo from the audience.
Girls weren't as wild in the studio audience back then.
Guess not. Tim Allen would have got one.
Right after that, Luther walks in and he's got this kind of like Miami Vice type outfit on.
He is full on Crockett and Tubbs, and I should be so happy, but I saw it and was like, and that's my favorite show of all time.
I actually thought it was a decent makeover for him.
I mean, he looks better than wearing Seven Dwarfs outfit, I guess.
Looks like he's ready to knock Reba up.
He's going to fight Brock for Reba.
So he walks in, he goes, "Hey dudes, am I cool or what?"
Love your
and
voice.
Again, this poor man, he's dead, and I don't want to shit on him, but holy shit.
What's wrong with him?
This is awful. This is so fucking bad.
He doesn't need to be in the episode. There's no he holds no importance whatsoever.
So Snow's like, "Oh, Luther, you're adorable." Now, when the psychologist comes in tonight, we're going to serve Brie. We're going to show him how we're a normal American family, essentially.
I'd also like to say, as a big cheese fan, Brie is like a weird 80s lie. Does anybody actually like Brie?
Brie's pretty good. Yeah, it's not a cheese I would ever buy, though.
I can't do it.
Oh, we get Brie all the time.
You like have it at home? You just eat Brie?
Yeah, we eat Brie. We do cheese plates like once a week.
Are they after your lasagna? I'm sorry, you can't say you do something once a week and have us accept it at this point.
We do cheese plates often.
Okay,
that's better. Thank you.
I'll bite on that. And even then, I'll maybe
My wife is European.
I was going to say, it's probably his wife's doing.
And you're a pooping.
Oh, I hate that worked.
Good one, Jay.
Good poop joke, Jay.
You know me, I love a good poop joke.
That's why they call you Poopy J. Poop.
No, but no, I never thought Brie's like an awfully strong tasting cheese, but it's
It's a
nothing I'm ever.
consistency thing with me. It's like that. It's a watery,
Same.
soft cheese, and I don't hate the cheese. It's just I'm never gonna go for it first.
It's just like it's only going to be like if you're at like a brunch thing or some sort of an
Yeah.
thing where there's like a big spread.
Baked brie is good. Like I said, you have that because you like to have a soft cheese with your hard cheeses. And that's like a good.
I like goat cheese too. Actually, that's a cheese I didn't expect to like, but I do like it.
I had goat cheese pizza before.
That's interesting.
It was good.
Get the cranberry infused ones. They're very good.
It's also brought up that when he's there, we're not going to be talking about dragons or giants or any of the cheap blondes you met before me.
Well, maybe if Snow put out a little more, he wouldn't have cheap blondes.
I know. After 1,000
True.
years, she still put the lock on him.
And they're married.
Then he goes, Snow, believe me, I forgot all about Cinderella the moment I laid eyes on you. Good, then she won't come up. When she said that, she means because of the whole reason that he's coming is because the son bringing up the fact that he dated Cinderella. So she doesn't want it to come up because he wants Eric to lie.
We've danced around for like 18 minutes. The whole plot of this episode now is like, is lying bad?
Yeah.
Which it was just too much fucking work for this man.
But Eric is Prince. He's an honest to goodness, like do-gooder. You know what I mean? So lying, even for the sake of your kid, is still lying. And it's like not in his DNA. And we see Lillian, who's like watching from, the magic mirror in her room.
Snow White also not in his DNA.
Yeah. She's saying to the mirror, like, it's just lying. It's like what makes the world go round, essentially. And the mirror's saying, not their world. Like, they're Snow White and Prince Charming. Lying goes against everything they believe in.
They're wrong. Woo! All right, thank you.
That's the thing. Little is known about Prince Charming, but that's like a characteristic of Snow White. She's innocent. She doesn't lie. And it should have been reversed. Maybe not the dragon slaying and the dating Cinderella part, but she should be the one that doesn't want to lie, and he should be the one that wants to adapt.
Yeah, but she was talked into it or kind of tricked because it's for the betterment of her kids. You know what I mean? So it's like it's not with bad intention. It's in this case with Snow White and Eric, their conflict is they both want to do what's right, and they both have different opinions of what's right in the moment.
I just would have reversed it, where she's the one that doesn't want to lie, and he's the liar.
Yeah, but I guess you'd have to have a different setup story. But yeah, you could have flipped it to something different. So that comes up. We cut back to the Charmings in the living room, and they're waiting for the psychologist to show up, and they're all sitting around.
This is when the mother comes with the raven down the stairs.
Yep.
Yeah, she shows up in like this full on like gown, like very much
Like Maleficent?
Maleficent, you trying to
Maleficent.
say? Maleficent?
That's who she looks like.
Well, yeah, it's all in that same vein, and this
She
is
has
more
the
of
green
a.
jade and the black.
She's dressed more the before time, you know what I mean? Like as we saw the rest of the characters earlier, but like intentionally to throw off the idea that it's a normal family.
She's one evil queen.
She shows up and she's like, well, I'm part of the family, right? Doesn't he want to meet the family? And that's when the doorbell rings and Luther runs over to get it. The psychologist is like, Mr. Charming? He's like, no, I'm Luther, the housekeeper. The housekeeper? Who are you expecting? Tony Danza?
Holy fucking shit.
Funny, because we covered it.
Yeah, what was the first season year? Because that's like a first
think
season
86.
reference, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it's where it's close. Yeah. So, but that show was like an instant mega hit.
That's
So,
true, yeah.
And it was also on ABC. And then Snow walks up and goes, hey, I'm Mrs. Charming. This is my husband, Eric. You already know Thomas. They have him sit down. And this is my stepmother, Lillian. And she goes, here, have an apple. Like, no. I mean, I would rather him have some brie.
Should have let him have the apple. That would have solved all their problems.
Well, you murder somebody in the house. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if that solves all your problems. He's just a psychologist. He's not a cop or a judge or anything. It was just, hey, just going to do a quick evaluation, and then he goes missing. It's going to be a whole bunch of problems.
And I mentioned before, too, Sam Anderson is like one of those guys who has like 5,000 credits. But to me, he'll always be the principal who forces Sally Field to have sex with him to let Forrest Gump get into regular school. And whenever he pops the screen, just like, there, Mr. Gump. Mr. Gump. Your mama sure cares about your education, boy. Also, look, we have some younger listeners. I feel like there's a weird thing now where...
Do we?
I think we do. Yeah, and there are some people who are younger than us who, like, I think the generation before us doesn't think Forrest Gump is a comedy movie. They think of it as, like, a weird, like, boomer fairy tale. Guys, rewatch Forrest Gump as a comedy. It is so fucking funny.
It's both. It's meant to, I mean, it's a drama, like, by nature, but there are funny parts in it.
I like to think of it as a whole comedy.
So now this guy's going, all right, we all know why I'm here. Thomas caused quite a stir, insisting that you dated Rapunzel, like Cinderella. Oh, Rapunzel, Cinderella, what's the difference? Well, Rapunzel would let her hair down for anyone. The crowd really popped for this. Now, Cindy, oh, sure, sometimes he'd get a little wild at a party and forget where she left her shoes, but...
Also, like, I don't care if you slept for 1,000 years, nobody would talk about their ex like this casually in front of their spouse. That's insane.
Well, he's a prince, so he could technically kill Snow White.
I don't think that's Prince law.
And the psychologist is like looking around. It's like a lot to take in. You have the mother-in-law who's in this full like gown, like you mentioned, and she's got a raven on her arm. And then you have Luther who's just like staring at him, and it's a lot. And he's just like scanning the room, and he's very fish out of water, the psychologist at this point. And then finally, Snow goes, Luther, why don't we have those refreshments now? He's like, sounds good to me. Oh. Yeah, why don't I get them?
Waka waka.
This character wears thin very quickly.
I like Luther.
You guys are haters.
I don't mind Luther. I haven't hated on Luther. The guy continues on. And anyway, I think this whole incident was probably just a call for attention. After all, you didn't really know Rapunzel and Cinderella, right, Mr. Charming? Like why would that question be asked? Like, hey, you didn't really, like...
Right.
I know that the real answer is yes, he did know them, but like in this world where the psychologist lives, there's no chance that he knows them because they're fictional characters. So why'd you have to like ask the father for reassurance?
Also, like anybody's ever talked to a psychologist or a psychiatrist or whatever, they're not like you have to be really fucked up to be like, you don't technically believe in this, right? Like they're like talking to you like real people.
Now, are they fictional characters or are they just historical characters? Because they're teaching it in school.
Rapunzel?
I'm saying in this universe.
In this universe, I think that they're teaching the Grimm story.
Yes, but Snow White exists, so why wouldn't they? And if they're teaching it in school, maybe it's history class.
Yeah.
In this universe, if Snow White exists, then yeah.
I got it. King Arthur was a real king of England. Did he really have Knights of the Round Table and slay dragons and all of that? Probably not.
He did. They were a football team whose bus crashed off a cliff. And
great
unfortunately,
show.
Merlin was forced to make them do his bidding.
I
fucking love that show.
Oh, God.
No one remembers that one.
That cartoon?
Arthur and the Knights of Justice.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
When Andy was super little, I would just like roam through YouTube with her, like asleep on me for hours on end. I would watch that and James Bond Jr. over and over again.
Now that's a Saturday morning Patreon show.
Also, 2 great theme songs.
James Bond Jr., who fights the evil of
Scum. Scum.
Oh, sorry, Scum.
So Eric doesn't want to lie when he's asked this question. And he goes, well, did anyone really know Cinderella? She had a rough childhood. Those sisters. Lillian gets like frustrated and basically casts a spell on everyone in the room except Eric to talk to him, where like, so she turns everyone into like a stone.
Why didn't she use this spell on them instead of this make everybody sleep that can catch her? Because she seems pretty powerful with this turn everyone to stone spell. So why wouldn't she use that one? Maybe
there's a limitation on it. So maybe like, I thought she was trying to kill them too. So maybe like, I don't know what the 1,000 years sleep thing. Again, it's tough to figure this out. But she's talking to Eric and going, take a look at your family. Snow White's such a pretty thing, and little Tommy just starting out life, looking for his dad for moral guidance. When they're both talking, by the way, like she like moves the kid's head because they're all frozen, and then he moves it back. When he moves it back, he basically just shoves his kid's head right in this girl's tits.
That motorboating son of a bitch.
Yeah.
But you know what? I know it's like, oh, she's evil. You shouldn't lie. But she's being very helpful because lying at this point is the right move.
It is.
So it seems. And then she's saying, listen, the way I see it, you have two choices. You either tell the truth and ruin things. Basically, you're going to mess their lives up.
I'm going to get the children taken away.
Or you just kind of give up on honesty and you just, make things easier. And he goes, lie? It's like a rug. She's like, it's your decision, and unfreezes everybody. And then, the psychologist is still looking at him, because he had asked the question, and it was like, oh, of course I never dated Cinderella. And the kid's like, but Dad, no, I said I never dated Cinderella.
Did you just call me butt dad?
Yeah.
That makes you butt son. Let's go surfing down this mountain.
That's all Lillian needed to see. She just wanted to see him lie. So now she's like, oh, that's enough for me. Goes up to bed.
And the fucking Emmy goes to the raven that flies to Lillian's arm across the set of this show. We're paying for ravens who fly in Madonna. What are we doing here?
Now, she yelled twice. Do you think it just didn't work the first time? Like the animal didn't obey? Or do you think she was supposed to call it twice?
Maybe twice. It's not a live show, so they can always cut it to make it look good one way or another.
I was just curious about that when I was watching.
So she exits with this raven, and you cut over to this guy, and he goes, I have a canary. Well, now, Thomas, can we stop all this talk about Cinderella? Yes, sir. And you didn't really spend last summer with your father slaying dragons, did you? No, sir. It's like, you made all that up, didn't you? And then finally, Eric's like, he feels bad, because now he's teaching his son to lie, and his son's obviously sad. When he says, you made everything up, didn't you? He goes, no, he did not. He's like, I beg your pardon? He's like, I'll put up with a lot in this world. Neckties, microwave mutton, even light grog. But I will not let you call my son a liar. I'll tell you, until I'm reading back now, the light grog thing went over my head at the time.
He doesn't want bitter beer face. Bitter grog face.
He's saying, what are you saying, Mr. Charming? That you and Thomas actually did spend a summer slaying dragons? Like, that summer was very special. And he was talking about how, this is the first time one of his sons went with them for one of these things, and they got to know a lot about each other, not just his father's son, but his people and his friends. And, when that old dragon came along, yes, Dr. Peters, we slayed it together.
And in between that, I told him about all of the weird sex I crushed previous to your mom.
Wow, Dad, even Cinderella?
Even Mona? I like to think that I ever had sex with Mona.
And then this is one of those, very 80s sitcom kind of twists to get out of this. They can't think of an intelligent way to shift this now. So the psychologist just goes, oh, now I understand. Slaying the dragon is a metaphor for overcoming the opinial rivalry. Oh, that was a moving allegory.
Yeah, so he wants to fuck his mom?
Yeah.
And kill his dad?
Yeah, right?
Yep. And that's where I lost my mind too, where I was like, they can be like, it's tough being a prince, and then be quoting Oedipus in this. What is happening? This is
it's
so
like
fucking
they
aggravating.
didn't do research what it means. They just wanted to sound smart.
He just wants to make the pull to be like, oh, I get what you're doing now. But it's there was nothing to create that. It was just that quick flip, because we need to get him out of this situation. We need to make everything turn around.
See, the real move is have the stepmother hate the both of them, but have a relationship with the kids. Truly love the kids. They bond because, they're...
Then she won't commit the heinous crime, yeah.
So then, he tells a story, oh, blah, 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 we did slay the dragon, have, the guy reprimanded him, yelling at the kid, and then have her step in, erase his memory with her magic, or something like that, just to protect her grandson.
So now, because of this beautiful imagery and metaphors that he's using, Dr. Peters is under the assumption that Eric is, perfect for writing children's books. He's like, I have a friend who publishes books. I'll set you up with him. Because now he thinks he's a writer. He's like, can I have him call you? Call me what?
That was fucking the last straw for me. It's Jesus fucking
I know.
Christ.
Yeah,
Well,
what
that's
are you doing
again,
with this?
not to beat a dead horse, but it's what do and don't they understand about the world?
Yeah.
They understand a lot, but then they don't understand phone calls yet. It's it just doesn't, there's not enough consistency there. It's be all know what's going on in the modern world, or be so fucking oblivious to it, that you can barely get by in the world.
I will say this too. Those kids are young, and I read a lot of children's books these days. And Gordo, as a writer, I will throw to you. But later on, he's like, I've already made it through the first chapter. Like, I imagine a kid's book about you fighting the dragon is not a chapter book.
I would think that it would be a picture book.
This is more like a board book, right? Like, and then we fought the dragon, and the dragon went roar.
I don't know. We had chapter books as kids, like The Mouse and the Motorcycle or Goosebumps. Or
Yeah.
Yeah, depends what age.
It's not, you're thinking like toddler. I think they're thinking like preteen.
I got,
Young adult.
see, because they're fairy tales, I got toddler level.
Yeah, I was thinking younger, but I guess this is like a Goosebumps where he's like, hey kid, so just so you know, when Cinderella gets real drunk on grog, this is what she does. Chapter 2.
they just dated.
Dating means a lot of different things to a lot of different people.
We cut to Lillian's room and she's talking to the mirror who's showing her everything, obviously. And the mirror's saying, like, see that, Lil? Like, now his son's out of trouble and he got a job all because he told the truth. It's like, I know, it's not fair. The psychologist ruined everything. He goes, oh, grow up, Lillian. You lost and there's nothing you can do about it. And she goes, you want to bet? And she, like, winds up and throws what looks like almost like a green smoke ball into the mirror.
It's like a green orb.
Because it's a mirror, it should have reflected back at her. Like,
She freezes.
And then we cut back to the living room and the doctor's going, well, I have to go. Dinner at my mother-in-law's. What a witch. Yours too?
Right? Right, Joe?
Ooh. That was a good joke. Now you guys are just hating because you don't like the rest of the show.
Dinner at Sally Field's house. I guess see you later. Her husband's going to throw a big zoo party for their kids. I'm going to swoop in before Pierce Brosnan does.
Did you guys laugh earlier when the car drives out of the driveway and then he drives out on a horse?
Yes.
I did find that funny. That was
didn't
funny,
talk about that scene.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Thank you, Ferg.
Yeah.
I did not laugh at that. I fucking was so mad at that. He puts on the giant hat with the big feather and then
I thought it was really funny.
Almost like a Monty Python vibe.
It did, yeah. And I knew it was coming too, and I still thought it was funny.
I will say as a giveaway, I just recently got like a novelty license plate made from something not TV related. But we should probably make the like Carpet King California license plate and do that as one of our next giveaways because it's a very specific.
I was thinking about doing something with that, to be completely honest.
I've got a place. It's somewhere I think it's somewhere near Germany. Mine just made it to Avondale, New Jersey this week, so it didn't take that long.
Arendelle? That's where the princesses from Frozen are from.
Oh, I sent you a picture once. I did meet the frozen snowman once, right? What's his name?
Olaf?
Olaf. I met Olaf once.
So did
Not a
I
nice
at
guy.
Disney.
Very mean.
Well,
Could say he gave you the cold shoulder.
See, that was good.
That was a good joke.
Yeah, that was good.
he's Googling snowman jokes. Dr. Peters is trying to leave. He's like, I just want you guys to know, like, it's in my professional opinion, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this family. And as he goes to leave, you see that now he has a tail. So that was, I guess, whatever that green orb she threw into the mirror, I guess, was against him.
Went right up the doctor's ass for some reason. What
It's a
the
fun
fuck
tail,
was
too,
that?
because it's like a mouse tail. It's not like
Yeah.
I thought it was like a dragon tail.
It's not one of those butt plugs that have furry tail attached to it.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. He like shimmies out. He's want to like let it go. He's holding real tight. Trying
All
to
right,
make a
Joe,
diamond
we're-
out of it.
We're on the same page.
This is what gets me through the mother-in-law.
I don't want to say it. Like, there's a band in close to us where like one of the singers wears a tail, and it's like one of my favorite things ever. Just like it's the girl who walks around with a tail. It's so funny to me.
He leaves. It gets the laugh because you get the visual gag of the tail. Fades to the final scene, and Snow and Eric are in bed, and Snow's tossing and turning, and Snow, what's the matter? I don't know. Something's bothering me. I can't sleep. But honey, everything's going so well. The boys are fitting in at school. I've written the first chapter of my book. Your mother hasn't turned anyone into a frog. Well, except that one Jehovah's Witness. Ha!
It's a fucking shrapnel for the Jehovah's.
And then it's like, I know, we're living happily ever after, but I just can't sleep. And he goes, wait, I think I know what the problem is. And then he goes under the mattress. Just as I thought, a pea.
Should have been his pee.
Look, 1,000-year-old shriveled pea. Anybody remind you of anything?
That was one of those ones, I'll say, when they did that gag, that was one of the like the fairy tale things I forgot about. So I was like, oh, right. It like triggered like the memory bank opened up a little bit.
I don't even know what princess that is. I remember the story.
That's the Princess and the Pea.
But, like, what's her name?
Don't know, but that's the name of the story.
It's Princess Pee-Pee.
I hate that made me laugh.
One of the dumb office things we say all the time about Andy is like, oh, baby Pee-Pee.
Princess. The princess is never explicitly named.
Okay.
So yeah, that's the end of the episode. Yeah, I mean, there's honestly, listen, there's not a lot to say about the show. It's one of those weird ones where I could see them remaking this modern day, but there would have to be alterations. Alterations. I'm sorry, not altercations.
Yeah, I'm gonna fight someone if they do.
You're gonna
Snow
fight
White
Mickey for it?
beating up a dwarf.
What's that movie? Is Enchanted?
That sounds like a movie, but I haven't seen it.
They have that show, The Descendants, and it's all the kids of all the princesses, and the princesses and princes are all in. I know the show the movie you're talking about.
No, not the movie. The one with the purse girl who ends up dating Jim.
Oh yeah.
That's like a parody of all the movies, but it's not.
Isn't there a villains show?
That's The Descendants, Gordo.
Oh, okay.
It's the fairy tale land of Andalasia. A pretty young Giselle frolics with her woodland pals and falls in love with the handsome Prince Edward. But when Giselle arrives at the castle to marry her Prince Charming, his evil stepmother sends the princess to a place where there are no happy ever after.
That's what? The Descendants?
No, that's Enchanted.
Oh, that's Enchanted. Okay.
That's actually a pretty funny movie.
With Amy Adams.
Amy Adams, there it is.
Oh, and James Marsden.
So, I mean, there are, I guess, other examples of things like this that have been made in modern day. And the show, again,
That was back in 2007, by the way. I thought it was newer.
no, it's been a minute. I didn't know it was that old, but I don't know. We talked about things about like other ways it could go. I think, honestly,
We talked about things.
well, like put him in a job that makes sense. Put him in a theme park. Put him in a medieval times. Do something, like something that like makes
really
them feel
up the
comfortable.
fish out of water. Like they
Yeah.
need more of that. Like, it would work better now. I said I'm glad it was the 80s, but say it's now and they check everything they need on the internet, and it would just be a lot of like them misunderstanding.
Yeah. It is funny to think of a show like this, even from 87 to now, and think nearly 40 years later, because of, like the technology boom and stuff, like how different you'd have to approach it.
Yeah, but then the fucking Raven would be CGI. It would look like garbage. You'd feel like it was in the internet.
It'd be a funny sitcom just watching Joe navigate through 2025.
It is a nightmarescape that I do not enjoy.
Skibbity toilet, what's that?
That's most people our age, though.
Yeah,
Gordo.
Yeah,
Gordon,
yeah.
that's not like me specific.
But yeah, I don't know if there's much else to say about the show that we haven't already talked about. So we should probably get into the green light or cancels. I'm just gonna go reverse order from how I see you. Gordo, starting with you.
Green light. Not if I greenlit Aliens in the Family, I gotta greenlight this, right? If I greenlit Homeboys in Outer Space,
You didn't greenlight Aliens in the Family.
Not exactly how this has to go.
I'm pretty sure you canceled it. I think you're thinking of Homeboys in Outer Space.
No, I think you let them both slide. But regardless,
I'm gonna greenlight this because there is a part of me that wants to at least see episode 2. I want to see how they jump from like awkward introduction to the actual like story, I guess, quote unquote. And it got 2 seasons, so it can't be complete dog shit, right? I am going to greenlight it just based on the fact that I am curious about episode 2. And technically, that's what we do. We decide if we want to see the second episode based on the first one. And I kind of do just to see it. So, green light from me.
Nick.
I get what they were going for, and it's an interesting concept. I didn't enjoy it. It was very poorly executed. Too many holes. Maybe if they just spent a little more time on it, maybe. But yeah, I do not care to see a second episode. I'm a little upset that I wasted time watching the first. So yeah, pretty easy cancel.
I'll jump in. Listen, I didn't like the show, but I was really conflicted in my vote because this show could work. But we went over all the ways it could work. You know, like I could absolutely see this show being remade right now, and if done right, could be very popular. However, this particular version of it to me did not do well. I don't know. Yeah, so it's torn for me because like the show could work. This didn't work, but the show could work. It didn't make me mad like it did like Joe. Like I wasn't furious watching it. I thought it was like, yeah, it was cute. But the whole time I felt like I was watching like an SNL sketch that never ended. It was like a 24-minute SNL sketch because they had so many like get it jokes, like every line where it was like, all right, just like, we get it. We get the premise now. Let's like just get through the scene. So I'm going to give it the cancel. It was close because I do think the show could work, but not in the way that it was presented to us. Ferg.
I'm going to give it the green light. Maybe it's the Disney adult in me. I actually thought this show was a hoot. It made me laugh a good amount of times. I had a few issues with like, they just didn't tell you enough at the beginning. I think maybe the pilot episode should have been them waking up, but they went with this, with the little story at the beginning. But like Gordo said, this got 2 seasons. How many shows that are good didn't get a second season? There's a few like issues with the names and stuff. Like I said, Prince Charming wasn't with Snow White. Hey, it made for a better name for the show. The Charmings is a good name. And I thought Snow White did a good job with her character. I thought the Evil Queen did a good job with hers. Prince Charming was okay. I don't think very many kid actors are good. So I'm not going to judge them too harshly. Well, no, I thought the show was harmless. So yeah, it gets a green light from me.
Joe.
Look, good golly, Miss Molly. Gordo and Ferg both had an opinion on it getting a second show. Gordo, I think you said it got a second season, so that means it must be good, right? I disagree wholeheartedly. I imagine when episode 6 of this was over, they all shook hands and said, guys, we got our SAG insurance for the year. We made some good friends. On to the next project. And then 6 weeks later, they all got a phone call and they were like, wait, what? Are you fucking kidding me? You want us to do this all over again? Fucking bananas. I love that it exists because it is a relic of a time that's so far gone. And it's crazy to think now too, especially like as wrestling fans, right? Like you hear all this stuff about like quarter-hour viewing and like how many people were watching X, Y, and Z. Whoever watched this show on ABC in 1987 was probably like 10 times the amount of people who are watching a live show now, right? Like that's fucking crazy to think of. It did not work for me. There are some things that were funny. I love everybody in this cast genuinely, but holy shit, this was so hard to get through. I hated it. This is not me hating on Disney or fairy tales. I do like the Brothers Grimm. I couldn't fucking do this. It's not a pass for me. No green light.
Well, with all that being said, that is only a 2 out of 5, so I am sorry to the Charmings. You do not live to see another episode with us. I want to thank all of you who are listening. Again, S1E1pod.com is where you can go to find all the links to our social medias, where you can find us on, all your listening devices. So rate, review, subscribe on all of those. If you're on our socials, hit us up, say hello. Let us know shows you want us to cover. But until then, I want to thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you again next week with another one. Thank you. Goodbye.
I think we got the best metaphor for overcoming the Oedipal rivalry.